Cecily was standing in my kitchen at 11:30 on a Tuesday night, holding a spatula like it had done something to offend her personally. "This is not butter," she said, staring into the pan. "This is a mistake. It's brown butter. That's a technique. It's smoke. That's a fire hazard." I reached past her and turned the burner down. She did not move. This was a thing about Cecily. She occupied space the way a person does when they've forgotten you have separate addresses. My dish towels. My cabinet doors left open exactly 1 inch too far. My spatula, which she had now set down on the counter instead of the spoon rest that was sitting right next to it, 6 inches away, doing nothing. "You called me because your oven broke," I said. "Your oven, not the stovetop. The stovetop is connected to the same energy as the oven. That is not how appliances work. That is not how I work." She turned and pointed at the pan. "Are you going to save the butter, or are we having tragedy for dinner?" Her name was Cecily Park, and I had known her for 5 years, which felt both too long and not nearly long enough, depending on the hour. We had met at the kind of place you meet people when you are 26, and trying to look like you have your life assembled. A work, happy hour at a rooftop bar, where nobody actually liked each other yet. She had been standing near the railing with a glass of wine she wasn't drinking, watching the street below, with the expression of someone doing very patient math. I had walked over because the conversation behind me had turned to fantasy football, and I had no way out. "You look like you're calculating an escape route," I said. She glanced sideways at me. "3rd floor. Fire escape on the north side. 8 minutes if I stop at coat check." "You already scoped the fire escape?" "I scope the fire escape at every event. It's a life skill." Her name was Cecily. She worked in urban planning, which she described as arguing with city governments about sidewalks until someone cries. She had opinions about crosswalk timing, cold brew ratios, and the specific dishonesty of menu that described things as crispy. She ate 2 of the past appetizers, declared the 3rd one structurally unsound, and gave me her card when I said I had to leave early. I texted her the next day because I had been thinking about the fire escape comment since the Uber ride home. 5 years later, she was burning butter in my kitchen on a Tuesday, and acting like this was a completely normal way to exist in another person's apartment, which, for us, it was. The oven situation had started around 7. She texted me a photo, her kitchen, a baking sheet in the middle of the floor, the oven door hanging open at an angle that suggested structural failure. Under it she wrote, "My oven has decided to retire without notice. The sheet pan fell. My dignity also fell. Please advise." I called her. She picked up saying, "Before you tell me to call the landlord, I already did, and he said Thursday, so I need you to understand that I cannot live on takeout for 2 days, because I have that thing with my parents on Friday, and I told my mom I would bring something, and if I show up with a box from Trader Joe's she will not say anything, but she will also never forget it. Come over," I said. "You don't have to." "Cecily, come over." She showed up 40 minutes later with 2 grocery bags, a reusable tote full of things she apparently just kept packed in case of emergencies, and a jacket that I was 80% sure was mine from a camping trip 2 falls ago, that she had been wearing regularly enough that I had started thinking of it as hers. That was a thing that happened with Cecily. Objects migrated. A phone charger on my nightstand, a book on my coffee table with a receipt used as a bookmark, a bottle of the specific face wash she used that had been under my bathroom sink. For so long I had stopped noticing it. Things just found their way to her and then stayed there, or they stayed at my place because she was there often enough that the difference stopped being clear. I had thought about that more than I should have. We were making the bread pudding her mother wanted, which Cecily claimed was not as hard as it sounds, and which had, so far, involved her burning the butter twice and me recalibrating the recipe because she had measured the milk by what looks right. The bread was cubed and soaking in the egg mixture. The kitchen smelled like vanilla and the particular tension of trying to cook in a space designed for one. Timer, she said. 14 minutes. Good. Okay. She leaned back against the counter across from me and crossed her arms. How was your week? Productive, long. We had the Henderson project deadline. You said that was going to kill you. It nearly did. I submitted at 11:58 on Friday and then sat in my car in the parking garage for 20 minutes eating a gas station sandwich. That is either very sad or very peaceful. Both. At the same time. She nodded slowly. That was something I liked about Cecily. She let both things be true without needing to fix it. I had a weird week too, she said. My sister called. Which one? The middle one. The one who thinks everything is a sign. What did she want? She wanted to tell me she saw me in a dream and I was standing in a field, and I looked happy, and that meant something was about to change. Cecily tilted her head. She also wanted to borrow my pasta maker. Those feel unrelated. With Jana they are always related. I checked on the pudding. The edges were just starting to set. I adjusted the rack and closed the oven, which was mine and functioning normally, and felt a small wave of something that was probably just satisfaction at having a working appliance. Probably. She also asked, Cecily said, slower now, if I was seeing anyone. Ah. Yes. Ah. She unfolded her arms and picked up a dish towel I hadn't asked her to touch. She started folding it. She was not looking at me. I told her no. She gave me the look even through the phone. You can feel the look through the phone. What look? The one where she is deciding whether to say something, or just think it very loudly at you. Did she say it? She said I spend a lot of time with you. Cecily set the folded towel on the counter. She said that in the tone that is supposed to be neutral but is not neutral. I didn't say anything for a second. The oven hummed. Outside, a car went by with music on too loud. One of those brief interruptions of the night that reminded you the rest of the world was still running. What did you tell her? I told her we were friends. She finally looked at me, and then she said, I know. Exactly the way people say I know, when they are telling you something is obvious that you have not figured out yet. I picked up the other dish towel and held it because I needed something to do with my hands. Jana is not wrong, I said, before I could make the choice not to. Cecily went very still. The oven hummed again. I set the towel down. She's not wrong, I said again, quieter this time. Like maybe saying it softer would make it less real. About the time I spend with you. Cecily was watching me with the particular expression she got when she was processing something and not ready to say what she thought about it yet. It was different from her regular listening face. More careful, more held. Meaning what? She said. Not a challenge. Just the question. I looked at the dish towel I had just set down, which was no help. Then at the window over the sink, which was also no help. Then at her. Meaning I look forward to this more than I should if you were just my friend. I said it like I was reading it off a document, which was probably not the romantic way to do it. But the romantic way had not surfaced, and this was happening now. Meaning I've had dates in the last 2 years that went fine. And the whole time, I was thinking about whether I was going to tell you how they went. Not because you're my friend, and I tell my friends things. Because I wanted it to be you I was telling things to. Cecily did not move. Meaning, I said, and then I stopped. Because the sentence I was building was getting long, and I had already said the actual thing, and everything after this was just filling space. I don't know. Meaning I think Jana's look was accurate. Cecily let out a breath. Not a sigh, more like she had been holding it, and now she didn't need to anymore. Leave a comment, I said without meaning to, the way you do when anxiety makes you narrate. Sorry, that's not, I just said that. She blinked, then she laughed. It was a short laugh. Surprised, not the kind she performs, the real one, that makes her scrunch her eyes. You can't just say leave a comment in the middle of your actual feelings. I panicked. I can see that. I rubbed the back of my neck. Say something, please. She looked at the bread pudding through the oven window, then back at me. You've had dates in the last 2 years that went fine, she repeated. Yes. And you thought about telling me about them. The whole time. Were they bad dates? No. That's the thing. They were normal. They were fine. One of them, Meg, she was funny, and she liked the same kind of hiking I do. And I came home thinking it went well. And I texted you a picture of the trail I had mentioned wanting to do. Not her, you. Cecily looked at the floor for a moment. I've done that too, she said quietly. I didn't move. Not the hiking text. But. She pressed her lips together. There was a guy last spring. Terrence. He was very kind and I liked talking to him, and the second date was actually good. And I got home and the first thing I did was call you to tell you about it. She paused. And while I was talking, I realized I was telling you the nice things he did, because I wanted to see if you thought they were as nice as I thought they were. Like I needed your sign-off. That seems like it means something. Yes, she said. It seemed like that to me too. She looked up. Which is why I stopped going out with Terrence. Because of me. Because of the way I felt when I was trying to tell you about him. She said it like it was simple, like it was something she had already worked out and was just now showing me the answer. The oven timer went off. We both looked at it and neither of us moved. I turned it off. I checked the pudding. It needed 4 more minutes. The middle was still soft. I closed the oven door. I started. Don't apologize, she said. I wasn't going to. You were doing your voice where you apologize. I turned back to face her. I was going to say I've been trying to find a way to say this for probably 1.5 years, and I kept not doing it. And I kept not because every time I thought about it, I thought about what would happen if you didn't feel the same way, and I had to figure out how to be your friend again after that, and I didn't trust myself to be able to do that without losing something important. What would you have lost? The way things are right now, I said. The way things are right now. The text at 11 on a Tuesday. You showing up with groceries and calling my butter techniques a hazard. The way you eat the edges of things and leave the middles because you say the middles don't have the interesting parts, which is wrong, but I have never once said anything because watching you do it is. I stopped. Is what? Is one of my favorite things, I said, which is a strange thing to say about someone eating a granola bar, and I know that. Cecily stared at me. Then, she said, very quietly, you notice that. I notice everything. That's the problem. She walked across the kitchen, not toward the oven, toward me. She stopped close enough that I could see she was doing the math face, the one from the rooftop. The one where she was figuring something out. Can I ask you something? She said. Yes. And you have to answer it honestly, without flinching. Okay. How long have you actually known? I thought about it the way you think about something, when you've already thought about it 200 times, and this is just the first time you're saying it out loud. There was a day about 1 year in, I said. You were at my place, and you'd had a bad week. One of your projects had gotten pulled, and you fell asleep on my couch, reading something, and I put a blanket over you, and I thought, this is the part of the day I'm going to keep. Not what happened at work, not what I had for dinner. This. I paused, and I looked at that thought and I thought, that's not a friend thing, is it? Cecily was quiet for a long time. There was a night about 2 years ago, she said finally. You were helping me move the last of my boxes to the new apartment. We had been at it all day, we were both exhausted, and we ordered pizza and sat on the floor because the couch wasn't set up yet and you didn't leave until 1 a.m. And when you left I stood at my window and watched your car drive away. Okay. I stood there for a long time. She looked at me. I thought, I hope he knows this apartment already feels like mine because I can picture him in it. I didn't say anything. I couldn't. I repainted that thought immediately, she said. I told myself I was tired. I told myself I was just grateful for the help. I got very good at repainting things. Cecily. Yeah. We are very stupid. She made a sound that was almost a laugh. A little bit. A year and a half, at minimum. All those times people asked if we were together and we both said no. I usually said, "It's not like that," she said, which was the most dishonest 5 words I have ever said regularly. I said, "We're close friends." Which is technically true and also completely misleading. Very diplomatic. I thought I was being careful. You were being terrified. Also that. The 4 minutes were up. I went back to the oven because the bread pudding had to come out now, regardless of what was happening in the kitchen, and it did need to come out. The edges were golden and the middle had finally set. I put it on the cooling rack. It looked actually good. Cecily had measured the milk wrong and it still looked good. She came and stood next to me to look at it. "That turned out fine," she said. Don't say surprisingly. I followed the recipe. You followed the recipe in the way that you follow crosswalks. Signals. I always get where I'm going. I looked at her. She was looking at the bread pudding, but her mouth had the curve that meant she was not actually thinking about the bread pudding. Cecily. Yeah. I'm going to say the direct thing, because I've already spent a year and a half not saying it, and I don't think I have the patience for another indirect conversation. She turned to face me. The kitchen light was warm. There was a small smudge of flour on her sleeve from when we had dusted the pan, and she had not noticed it, and somehow that detail, that small accidental thing, made it very difficult to be anything other than completely honest. I want to stop going on dates with people I think about replacing with you, I said. I want to stop pretending your jacket in my closet is an accident. I want to stop inventing reasons to make sure I see you at least twice a week. I want to stop performing normal when you fall asleep on my couch, because what I actually think is that I am not going to get a better evening than this one, and I don't want it to end. I breathed. I want to stopping there. Cecily Park looked at me for a long enough moment that I began to revise every assumption I had made in the last 5 minutes. Then she said, "Your jacket is in my car." I paused. "The North Face one," she said. "From the camping trip. I didn't take it because I was cold. I took it because I wanted something that smelled like you to have in case I needed it, which is insane, and I have been meaning to return it for 2 years and I kept not doing it." I absorbed this. "Okay," I said. "Okay," she exhaled. "I think we've both been quietly catastrophic about this for an embarrassingly long time. That is one way to say it. Consistently. Do you have a better way?" "Consistently, willfully dense," I said. "In our own separate kitchens, at the same time." Not the one she used when she was being pleasant or polite, the one that was only for things that actually got to her. "That is accurate," she said. I reached out slowly. She watched my hand. I put it against her face. The same way you handle something you've waited a long time for. Not fast, not careless. She leaned into my palm before I'd fully made contact. That was the part I wasn't prepared for. I had imagined this happening maybe 400 times, and I had never gotten that part right. The leaning. The ease of it. Like she had been waiting, I said. "If this changes things," I said. "It will change things," she said. "That's the point. If it changes things in the wrong direction, it won't." She said it quietly, but with the certainty she usually reserved for crosswalk timing and structural bread integrity. Like she had already run the numbers, like she was sure. So I kissed her. Not dramatically, gently, the way you do when you've been careful about something for a long time, and you're allowing yourself to finally stop being careful. She kissed me back the same way. Her hand found the front of my shirt and held on, not pulling, just keeping. When we pulled back, we were both quiet for a moment. The bread pudding was cooling on the rack. The kitchen smelled like vanilla and brown butter, and whatever that particular kind of Tuesday is called when everything rearranges without making any noise. "We should wrap that," Cecily said, looking at the pudding. "For your mom, Cecily." "For my mom," she corrected. "Then I need to call Jana." "You are not calling Jana tonight." She's going to want to know she was right about the dream, tomorrow. She was smiling, still looking at the pudding. Tomorrow, she agreed. I got the plastic wrap from the drawer. She found a container. We wrapped the bread pudding, like two people, who were still figuring out if their hands should be touching, and had found a compromise in doing something ordinary together. You noticed that I eat the edges, she said. I told you I notice everything. That's going to be a problem. I know. I leave cabinet doors open. I know. I fold dish towels wrong. You put them back on the counter instead of the rack. That is where they live. The rack is where they live. The rack was built for that purpose. The rack is where dish towels go when they're resting, she said. The counter is where they go when they're active. That is a completely invented framework. It works for me. I looked at her. She was looking at me with the expression that meant she was 1 second from making fun of me, and was enjoying the moment right before she did it. You know, I said, this is all very consistent with who you are. I'm consistent. I'm reliable. I am an excellent city planner, and I make good bread pudding. You burned the butter twice. The pudding turned out perfect. Results matter. I handed her the container. She took it. Our fingers overlapped for a second on the lid, and neither of us made it into something, which was maybe the thing that made it something. I'm going to go home, she said, and I am going to get your jacket out of my car. You can keep the jacket. I'm going to get the jacket, she said, and I'm going to bring it back in the morning. The morning. I was going to ask if I could come back for coffee anyway. She picked up her tote. Now I have a reason. You didn't need a reason. I know, she said. That was sort of the whole problem. She said it gently. And she was right. And I knew she was right, the same way she had been right about the butter and the crosswalks and the fire escape 8 minutes, with a stop at coat check. Cecily Park was usually right about the things that mattered. I had just spent 5 years being grateful. She was my friend, when I should have been telling her that I was in significant trouble. She stopped at the door and looked back at me the way you look at a room you're not done with yet. The jacket, she said. The jacket. I agreed. She left. I stood in my kitchen for a minute with the leftover egg mixture in a bowl I still needed to wash and a dish towel on the counter where it didn't belong. And I did not move it. I left it where it was. 3 days later, she showed up to her parents' dinner with the bread pudding, and her mom said it tasted like something from a real bakery. And when Cecily told me about it over the phone that night, I could hear her smiling the way I recognized even through the speaker. She liked it, I said. She more than liked it. She asked for the recipe. That's good. It's very good. A pause. I told her you helped. You told her I helped with the recipe you followed. Wrong. I told her we made it together. I sat down on my couch. And what did she say? She said she'd like to meet you sometime. Cecily's voice was careful but warm, the way her voice got when she was saying something that mattered without making it a whole production. I said she probably would. You told your mom she's probably going to meet me. I told my mom the truth. A small pause. It's the thing I was trying to start doing more of. I looked at the dish towel on the counter, still there from 3 nights ago because I had kept not moving it. That seems right, I said. I thought so too. We talked for an hour after that. About nothing specific. About a crosswalk near her office they were finally fixing, and a trail I wanted to hike in April, and a show she had been watching that she thought I would argue with, but probably end up liking. The same kind of conversation we had always had. Same rhythm. Same ease. Same way of existing in each other's time, without it ever feeling like a cost. Except now, when we said goodbye, and I set my phone down, I did not spend 30 seconds talking myself out of anything. I just sat there, and the quiet was the good kind,